Welcome to this module, Trends and Issues Shaping Instructional Design in Europe. The debate of instructional design's presence across Europe's education and commerce sectors has been a popular one, especially in recent years. One school of thought believes the field is virtually non-existent in Europe, while the others would argue that the field is not only prevalent, but growing and thriving, particularly in the business and education sectors. Perhaps both arguments are correct. In Europe, like other areas of the world, instructional design wears many hats and answers to many names. Among those names, you will find parallel fields of study where instructional design's fingerprints can be found. For instance, take fields like educational technology, educational psychology, educational sciences, learning sciences, pedagogy, media studies, computer sciences, and other various scientific disciplines. What is plainly obvious is education's role in the European ID world, a trend you can certainly anticipate continuing. Over the course of this module, we will explore 4 sectors of the European instructional design world, and these sectors' role in shaping the trends and issues relevant to this field. Training throughout business and industry in Europe is still unfamiliar to instructional design and its field. While not a lot is known about instructional design in the formal practice of its theories, there is still a high demand for training and development, particularly in the professional sector. After all, there is a significant business footprint across Europe spanning over 50 countries, 28 of which are members of the European Union. In the absence of an ID field, much of training, design, and development is the undertaking of content experts. While these professionals are surely equipped in the mastery of their subject and the application of this material, a trained and knowledgeable instructional designer could make the argument that they are not equipped to handle the various issues that are relevant when considering the design of instruction, the needs of learners, the various other environmental and learning considerations to be made. 2 approaches that are prevalent in working within the training sector of business and industry are the short course of training approach and the on-the-job training approach. We will explore these 2 approaches in the next slide. According to Reeser and Dempsey, the short course approach is typically driven by emerging training needs that result from the development of new products, services, and technologies. By definition, instructional design is the systematic process of and efforts of professionals using instructional and sometimes non-instructional means to improve human performance. The downside of the short course approach, in this respect, circumvents the systematic process and quickens the development of tools regardless of their need or reception. While this approach can be seen as flexible and timely, or, if you would, short, it can be providing in low-quality instruction deemed as ineffective. The second of the 2 approaches prevalent within training in European business and industry is on-the-job training. Described as it sounds, on-the-job training is training provided while the learner is working. This can be training under a supervisor or content expert, or it can also be learning while doing. While this is a useful tactic for designers to use, it places the burden on supervisors and can be ineffective if the trainer is not actually effective in their role. On-the-job training can also be the use of performance appraisal systems. In theory, these work, but only if executed correctly, and sometimes it can be at the expense of the learner. Both short course and on-the-job training approaches can be useful in training. However, one commonality in these instances is the lack of trained employees who are also educated in educational psychology and theory, a common practice understood by instructional designers. Vocational education is on the rise in Europe. This is in contrast to the United States and other countries around the world, where vocational education has been on the decline. One country in particular that models this trend is Germany. In their model, education is a combination of formal learning and full-time vocational education. This model and the reliance of other similar vocational education programs throughout Europe have proven effective and necessary. Interestingly enough, the problem only arises in the ability to scale these programs and provide quality experiences for all learners, no matter their ability or the financial resources of the institution providing the training. Instructional design in vocational education training programs focuses on real-life professional tasks and creating learning that is relevant and necessary to performing these tasks. Essentially, learners are involved in learning tasks appropriate to the work they anticipate to do. This is a universal consideration across the ID field, which is engaging your learner in authentic learning experiences, much like those they will encounter in the real world. These VET programs are typically offered by large companies because of the resources. However, what the field calls SMCs, which are small and medium-sized companies, these SMCs are the ones that are more specialized in their services and would therefore benefit from these vocational programs. The prevalence of instructional design throughout the vocational education and training field is undeniable. Whether in the theory and practice behind the application or the need for scalability, this trend will continue to grow as the field does. Vocational programs continue to rise throughout the continent and provide skill and informed workers will pay dividends for the companies, large and small. As with the other two discussed examples of trends and issues facing the European instructional design field, it is hard to lump 50 countries into one category. As with the other areas, primary and secondary education throughout Europe vary by country. A commonality across the continent is one term called School for All. This means, in all countries, primary and secondary school curricula pay ample attention to language, foreign language, math, science, personal and life skills, and ethical values. There are very few exceptions to this, and across Europe, the rate of school attendance is nearly perfect. Let us explore a few terms and concepts prevalent throughout primary and secondary education in Europe. First, the International Standard Classification of Education, also known as ISCED, and the term Information and Communication Technology, or ICT. In 2011, the International Standard Classification of Education was introduced, which made it possible for Europe to collect statistical data on education. Within the ISCED, there are three models of organization. First, the single structure model of education. In this model, education is provided from the beginning to the end of compulsory schooling, and there's no transition between primary and lower secondary education. Secondly, Common Core Curriculum. After successful completion of primary education, children progress to lower secondary education, where they follow the same general Common Core. This is prevalent in the United Kingdom, France, Spain, and Italy. Lastly, differentiated lower secondary education. After successful completion of their primary education, children are required to follow distinct educational pathways in lower secondary education. While there are many differences, this model has united Europe and helped to continue to support School for All. Information and Communications Technology, also known as ICT, can be described as the investment in infrastructure that supports technology communications throughout primary and secondary education. Let's explore a couple ways that one might see ICT in Europeans' primary and secondary education classrooms. One example is flipped classrooms. In these environments, some or most of the direct instruction is made available using video lectures or other modes that deliver content online. This frees up time for in-the-classroom group work, where learners are engaged in meaningful projects. ICT-based systems for student monitoring have also become popular as they provide teachers with progress of student ability and learning so instruction can be learner-centered and tailored to the learner's needs. Mobile technologies are also becoming increasingly popular as they provide flexible solutions for studying from anywhere and can provide data for monitoring student progress. All in all, while it is not happening as fast as some would like, there is a shift in primary and secondary education's increase with the use of technology and focusing on instructional design principles to achieve the desired results throughout primary and secondary education in Europe. Instructional design's role in the growth and change within higher education in Europe is undeniable. The rapid social changes facing higher education throughout the world and Europe is demanding of more non-traditional approaches to learning design, particularly with the influence of technology and ICTs. Learners are demanding to have access on demand, yielding customized learning systems. Flexibility and personalization are key and becoming increasingly more important, especially in higher education. An instructional design trend that can be seen throughout the field within Europe is distance education pedagogy and e-learning. Distance education pedagogy can be broken into three areas: cognitive behaviorism, which is the pre-web period of printed materials, television, and radio; social constructivism, which is the Web 1.0 and teleconference period; and connectivism, the communication and interaction process provided by Web 2.0 and social networks. Connectivist theory in instructional design has made way for massive open online courses, MOOCs. This innovative and cutting-edge use of instructional design theory allows thousands of learners to participate in the same course by accessing content and tools, all while interacting with their peers and other course participants. This is an example of distance education and e-learning's prevalence throughout the instructional design field worldwide, and particularly its use within the European instructional design community. The future of instructional design in Europe is bright. Trends and issues moving forward will continue to focus on the need for more complex learning deliveries, flexible education methods, and a call for more instructional designers to work and support this growing field. Congratulations, you have completed the Trends and Issues Facing Instructional Design in Europe module. Please proceed to the next section of this course.